Hello, everybody. Welcome to Day 40, Chapter 40. Today we're reading The Prisoner's Dreams. It came to pass, after these things, that the butler and the baker of the king of Egypt offended their lord and the king of Egypt. And Pharaoh was angry with his two officers, the chief butler and the chief baker. So he put them in custody in the house of the captain of the guard in the prison, the place where Joseph was confined. And the captain of the guard charged Joseph with them, and he served with them. So they were in custody for a while. Then the butler and the baker of the king of Egypt, who were confined in the prison, had a dream, both of them, each man's dream in one night, and each man's dream with its own interpretation. And Joseph came into them in the morning, and looked at them, and saw that they were sad. So he asked Pharaoh's officers, who were with him in the custody of his lord's house, saying, Why do you look so sad today? And they said to him, We have each had a dream, and there is no interpreter of it. So Joseph said to them, Do not interceptions belong to God? Tell them to me, please. Then the chief butler told his dream to Joseph, and said to him, Behold, in my dream a vine was before me, and in the vine there were 3 branches. It budded, it blossomed, shot forth, and its clusters brought forth ripe grapes. Then Pharaoh's cup was in my hand, and it took the grapes and pressed them into the Pharaoh's cup, and placed the cup in Pharaoh's hand. And Joseph said to him, This is the interpretation of it. The 3 branches are 3 days. Now, within 3 days, Pharaoh will lift up your head and restore you to your place, and you will put Pharaoh's cup in his hand according to the former manner when you were his butler. But remember me when it is well with you, and please show kindness to me. Make mention of me to Pharaoh, and get me out of this house. For indeed I was stolen away from the land of the Hebrews, and also I have done nothing here that they should put me into the dungeon. When the chief baker saw that the interpretation was good, he said to Joseph, I also was in my dream, and there were 3 white baskets on my head. In the uppermost basket were all kinds of baked goods for Pharaoh, and the birds ate them out of the basket on my head. So Joseph answered and said, This is the interpretation of it. The 3 baskets were 3 days. Within 3 days Pharaoh will lift off your head from you and hang you on a tree, and the birds will eat your feet from you, or flesh from you. Now it came to pass on the 3rd day, which was Pharaoh's birthday, that he made a feast for all his servants. And he lifted up his head of the chief baker and of the chief baker among his servants. Then he restored the chief baker to his butlership again, and he placed the cup in Pharaoh's head. But he hanged the chief baker, as Joseph had interpreted to them. Yet the chief butler did not remember Joseph, but forgot him. Hello, everybody. Hope you enjoyed Chapter 40, Genesis 40 with me. Here's a quick summary and life lesson that you can learn from this chapter. Genesis 40 takes place while Joseph is still in prison. 2 of Pharaoh's officials, his chief cupbearer and chief baker, are imprisoned in the same place after offending Pharaoh, and Joseph is assigned to attend them. One night, both men have vivid, troubling dreams, and Joseph notices they're downcast the next morning. When he asks why, they explain no one is available to interpret their dreams, and Joseph responds that interpretations belong to God, and asks them to tell him their dreams. The cupbearer describes a vine with 3 branches budding and producing grapes, which he presses into Pharaoh's cup. Joseph interprets this favorably. With 3 days, Pharaoh will restore him to his position. Joseph asks the cupbearer to remember him and mention him to Pharaoh once he's restored. Since Joseph was unjustly taken from his homeland and imprisoned without cause, the baker, encouraged by positive interpretation, shares his own dream: 3 baskets of bread on his head, while birds eat out of the top basket. Joseph's interpretation is grim. Within 3 days, Pharaoh will execute the baker. 3 days later, on Pharaoh's birthday, both predictions came true, exactly as Joseph said. The cupbearer is restored, the baker is executed. But the chapter ends on a quiet, painful note. The cupbearer forgets Joseph entirely once he's back in his position. The lesson. This chapter highlights Joseph's consistent character, even in prison. Humble, attentive to others' distress, and quick to give God credit rather than take credit for his gift himself. It's also a story about the ache of being forgotten, despite doing everything right. Joseph's reasonable hope for rescue is deferred, setting up the tension and eventually bigger turning point that comes in the following chapter. It's a quiet chapter, but an important hinge in the large arc of Joseph's story. Thank you guys so much for listening. See you tomorrow.